Okay, so here we are on part 4, and what I want to do right now is we've gotten through most of the tools here now. Again, if you zoom in on your subject and you go to the hand tool, you can move your subject around. This can be done as well as going to the space bar. You can also magnify and zoom in, zoom out, doing it this way as well. Again, if you remember, it's Command plus, Command minus, zooming in and out. Command 0 will put the figure back to normal. And then we have our foreground color and our background color. And we can go to default, making it black and white on the bottom, and we can also move the colors back and forth. Right here we have quick matte. We can edit in quick mask mode, which is temporary, meaning that the mask, we can just basically use this to get a selection. And this is just kind of the overall view. But anyways, what I wanted to talk about right now is layer styles. And layers, you know, a very powerful component of Photoshop. I can turn my layers off. The layer that is blue is the layer that is active. I also can do various blending modes to my layer. I can also change the opacity of my layer and fill of my layer as well. And again, I can group layers, I can delete layers, duplicate layers. These are all the different things that I can do up here. I can create clipping masks, etc. I can flatten all my layers to just make it one layer, etc. But with our layers, we also have the drop-down menu. And in here is where we have layer styles, and we have various blending options that we can use. And so, for example, if I click on bevel and emboss, you'll see the bevel and emboss, and I can do the contour and texture as well. But nothing changes over here because I actually have to have these activated in order to have the various characteristics of what they'll do. So you just want to remember that layer has to be activated. We can do strokes. I can change the color of the stroke. I can change the size of the stroke. I can also make it outside my shape. I can make it in the center of my shape. And I can also do blend modes to it as well. And blend modes don't do a whole lot here, but this opportunity is available. We can also do a gradient type of stroke. We can do a pattern type of stroke as well. Inner shadow, just what it says, and again you can change the angle of the shadow, you can change the distance of the shadow, you can do various things there. Inner glow is going to give you a more a light where I can actually change the color of the inner glow that I have. I can change the choke of it. I can change the size of it, making it larger or smaller. Satin kind of gives us kind of almost a gradient type of appearance, but again, to do any type of changes, you need to have that layer selected. And you've got various things, color overlay. You can change it to the various colors as well. We can do gradient overlays. And again, changing them to through the panels over here. We can do pattern overlay. We can do outer glow overlay. And again, you can change the color of it. And you can change the spread of it and kind of get your shadows or type of glow there. I could go to a more of a yellow color. You can see how you get the outer glow that way. And then we have the drop shadow, of course. And again, we can change the distance and make our various shadows as well. So this works on objects, it works on text, it basically works on any layer that I have selected. The other thing with layers, you know, you can do new fill layers here. You can do adjustment layers. Again, generally, if you do an adjustment layer, it affects that layer. But for the most part, when you're going to be, if they ask you this in the test, you're going to go to the adjustment panel, and this is where you would do the various adjustments to the particular layer that you're working on. Okay. If you decide to do an adjustment layer through edit or image adjustments, you can do it here, but then you affect all the layers in your document. So this is a difference. So going to image adjustments and then doing the adjustments is considered destructive, whereas if you do it from the panel, it's non-destructive because it actually creates a new layer that just affects whatever layer you're on and adjusts accordingly. Other things about layers, you can get into masks, and you can create the clipping mask, which you can see this little arrow that comes down here, and so now this adjustment layer is not going to affect anything on the bottom. It's strictly going to be connected to this one shape. Smart objects, you know, you can convert any object to a smart object. And again, smart objects are considered non-destructive because you have to go back to the original file to make changes. However, when you do go back to the original file and make changes, what it does is it makes changes on any other document that you may have that particular smart object on. Rasterize, basically a smart, rasterize is basically taking a vector object and making it into a pixel-based object. Okay, so if I rasterize this shape, you'll see that no longer the shape icon, like you see down here, is here, and now this is basically a bitmap image or pixel-based. And I can go ahead and, before you saw that these were all grayed out in the adjustments here, well, now they're all turned on because this adjustment operation works with pixel-based objects. It will not work with vector-based objects. And you can bring layers forward and back, but of course how we do it, generally speaking, is we just move them up and down the layer panel. And you can, again, merge down. So a lot of these operations you'll find up here, you'll also find in the panels as well. And for the most part, with the ACA certification test, they're going to be looking at you using the panels more than the drop-down menus. Other thing we want to talk about here too is the modes. Generally speaking, for printing, most of the files you're going to be creating are RGB. You can also turn them into CMYK if you're sending them off to, say, such as an offset printer. And you can do this in the printer panel as well. You can also turn an object to grayscale. What I find is I tend to use the desaturate, and then also I select grayscale on the printing panel, printing in black and white, because if you print a black and white photo off your printer and don't have it desaturated and don't tell it to print in black and white or grayscale, you tend to get a green hue because it's going to be using all the colors in your printer, whereas if you tell the printer that you're just using the blacks and whites and grays, it's just going to print accordingly. Image size, again, this is where you can make changes. Remember, they're synchronized. If I turn this off, I can change the width and it won't affect my height. But if this is on, it's going to keep it in proportion. Generally speaking, the only time you would use a resolution of 72 was if you were working with files that were going to be on the web. For most purposes, we want our resolution to be at least 300 when working with photos, etc. And then this is very nice because you can actually sharpen up the pixels that improve it for enlargement and even when you're reducing a file, etc. Also, you have canvas size, and basically you can change the whole canvas. So for example, let's say I've been working on an object and I wanted it a certain size, but now I want to print it off on an 8.5 by 11 piece of photo paper. I can go ahead and change this here to the 8.5 in the height of 11. And then I can tell it where I want my image to rest. Do I want the image on the bottom of my page? I can click that, and then I'll just zoom back in and it's put it at the bottom. I'll show you also how it works if I did it a different way. If I went back to canvas size and did my 8.5 by 11. Whoops, I don't want 77. And then center it, hit OK, and you'll see that it's put the image in the center. I can do image rotations. I can flip them clockwise, counterclockwise. I can also flip the canvas horizontally, which puts it in mirror mode. Okay. And that's pretty much good for that menu there. Filters, of course, you've got the liquify, you've got lens correction. What's nice now is you got the convert for smart filters up in here, and you can click OK, and then you can go ahead and go to camera raw filter, which will actually bring you into the camera raw image. And if you remember when we had the photographs, etc., in fact, I'll pull up a photograph here, and we'll convert this for a smart filter, and we're going to go ahead and go camera raw filter. And if you remember, we can do our white balance here, and if you can see how it changes depending on where I select the white. And we have the different tabs over here with various operations, and generally you move from left to right, and these are the tools up here. And we also have a drop-down menu available as well. Okay. Okay, we can do preview mode, etc. Okay, so I'm running out of time here. I'm going to sum this all up here. Again, you have your proof setups. If you remember, you can do a gamut warning, and it will actually gray out an area. And if you remember, we went into preferences and changed the transparency, the color of the gamut warning. And then you can see, if I went ahead, and I don't know if we'll have any gamut problem here. We can check for it here. Okay, we don't really have any gamut warning, but if you remember from our lesson with the photos where it turned a part of it different colors, turned it in red, and it was able to show us how to change the color so that we could make sure that it would print out properly in CMYK mode. Well, anyways, I'm sorry, I kind of rushed here. Again, you have all of your panels here, and you can show your layer edges, grids, guides here. You can have a different screen mode, and etc. So anyways, I got about 10 seconds left here, so hopefully this gives you some help I know I gave you a lot more time reviewing it, but hopefully this overview will help.